Fayakemi,
Yes, Mom?
what are you?
I'm doing giver!
Never forget that, okay?
Okay,
I
Mom.
love
Never
you.
ever going to forget that.
Awesome. I love you, baby.
I love you too.
Hi, ladies. How are you all doing? It's your girl Remy, your unburdening an identity restoration specialist based in the United Kingdom. So, like I said earlier, I think it was in my last video where I spoke about the patterns I've noticed where parents are believing strangers over their children. Today, I want to talk about the second pattern, which I mentioned, which is where parents see that their children have certain shortcomings and blatantly ignore it. They are literally in denial about this thing and keep saying, no, my child cannot do that, my child cannot do that. And, eventually this causes the child to become something else in the future just because their parents didn't help them deal with it. So I want to talk about that. And the reason why I'm doing this is because it's important to strike a balance. So, as much as we're saying, believe your children, we also need to be aware that there are some things that our children do, some habits, some behaviors that need to be worked on in order to ensure that they become wholesome adults who add value to the society at large. So, let's go right into it. To help with today's video, I'm going to be sharing a true life story that happened between myself and my 6-year-old daughter. My daughter Fayo is a joy giver. She cannot enter a room and you won't know she's there. Everyone that speaks to me knows that I have a little girl called Fayo. She gives so much joy, so much joy. You see how I'm talking about it? Just talking about her, I'm smiling. And on this particular day, I needed some of her joy. I was just, a bit down. And I said, okay, let me go pick her up. And then I went to pick her up. And my baby girl wasn't smiling. She was looking so down, so upset. And I'm like, this is not what I was expecting. What happened? And she said to me, Mommy, a friend of mine in my club called me a bully. And I was like, a bully? What happened? And I sat with her. Even before we went home, right in front of her school, we had started having this conversation because she was looking so sad. And I said to her, okay, tell me what happened. And she said, oh, I was trying to play with this friend, and this friend kept saying no. And then I was just trying to play. And then the next thing, this person called me a bully. Now, immediately she explained that to me, I knew what happened. Like I said, she's a joy giver. She loves to give hugs and things like that. But sometimes my baby girl doesn't know where to draw the line. And this is why one of our daily affirmations, one of the things I talk to her about every single day, I don't miss a day, is talking to her about respecting boundaries. Today?
Fine.
Okay, and did you respect boundaries today? I need you to speak. Yes or
Okay.
no?
I respect boundaries.
And how did you respect boundaries? Can you talk
So
me
so
through it?
when the boys when I wanted to play with the boy, the boy said no, I left them, I leave them alone.
And you left them alone. I make her understand that you have a beautiful personality, but you need to understand that sometimes people just want their space. So I knew that this was probably what happened. It's probably a case of my baby girl wanted to play with this friend, and this friend wanted to do something else, and she kept insisting. And being a little child, they're just 6, this person just said, oh no, you're being a bully. I'm sure that was what happened. So I spoke to her about it and I said, is this what happened? And she said, yes, I was just trying to play with my friend. And the friend said this. And I said, you must understand that this friend didn't want to play. And this friend felt that you were overbearing and probably didn't know how best to express it. And I said, we shouldn't be doing that. And immediately I said to her, I said, now that you understand this, it still doesn't mean that that friend was right to call you a bully because you're not a bully. So we're not going to let this slide. I'm going to have a conversation with your teacher tomorrow. Now, in these 2 scenarios, I really want to tell you 2 things I did quickly. Number 1, I did not ignore my daughter's shortcoming. I knew that this is probably something that happened, and I immediately spoke to her about it. Secondly, I also made her understand that as much as what you did probably wasn't the best. It didn't give the person the right to call you a bully. You are not a bully. I emphasize this, that you were only wrong to be overbearing, but you are not a bully. This is what we need to do, and we're going to do it. So I ensured that I made her understand that I was listening to her, I was correcting her, but I was not judging her, and neither was I condemning her. So in one scenario, it was important that I emphasize the very important lessons. Now, the other part was me saying, I'm going to talk to your teacher. The importance of doing this is to ensure that my baby girl at that point knew that her feelings were valid. I was not sweeping it under the carpet, and that I was listening to her. Now, when it comes to things like this, telling the teachers, what you will find is the children will probably say, no, don't talk about it. It's okay, because this actually happened with my baby girl. At this point, she was like, okay, talk about it. But immediately she felt better. She said, Mommy, I don't think it's okay you talk to my teacher about it anymore. Now, in that instance, I understood why she was saying don't talk about it anymore, because she wasn't sure about how I was going to deal with it. She didn't want a situation where I would tell the teacher, it will become a case where everybody now sees this baby girl as someone who reports and is telling tales, and then she's isolated. So for me in that instant, I knew all of that, and I knew that I had to handle it in a way that didn't put my daughter in an uncomfortable position in a classroom where she was going to be meeting these people every day. And I needed to ensure at the same time that she knew that in the future, when you talk to mommy, mommy listens to you, mommy takes action without objectifying you. So you see, parenting is hard work, but this was something I needed to do. So let's keep going, and I'll keep sharing with you how we handle this. The next thing that happened was, obviously the teacher was spoken to, and again, when this conversation happened, the teacher knew what happened. I made the teacher know that I understand what happened. This is probably what happened. I know it's not a big deal, but that child needs to know that you don't just use such words like that loosely, because it's heavy. So the teacher said, we're going to deal with it. And then we spoke about the options. What's going to happen is either we look into it and we see if we can get them to play together, or if it's deeper than that, we might have to separate them. So we knew that we needed to deal with it, and we had a course of action put in place, and we had a result in mind. So it wasn't just a matter of I'm reporting for reporting's sake. And this is very important, I think, for parents as well, because when you stand your ground, teachers, everybody knows that you are not that parent that will let things go under the carpet. They know that it's not a matter of anything goes. They know you're going to deal and look into things. And it also helps your children in school, because nobody messes with them. They know that you're going to dig deep. Now, what happened? After school, I spoke, and they said, oh, it was nothing. They got them, they were playing, they were okay. And then what I noticed was I picked up my baby girl that day. And as we were walking, we were running. The next thing I heard someone call her, like I said, she's a joy giver. She's popular. Everybody knows this girl. And, I just heard her name, Fire. And I was like, who's calling you? And we looked back, and she called this person's name. And that person opened the arms. She opened her arms as well, and they ran into each other, gave themselves a hug, and said, oh, I'll see you tomorrow. And it was and I was like, oh, who is that? And she was like, that is so and so. And I was like, oh, the person you told me about yesterday. And she said, yes. And I was like, oh, so tell me about it, because it looks like everything looks okay. And she said yes. And obviously I knew everything was okay because I'd spoken to the teacher, but now it was her giving me from her view, from a 6-year-old's view. And she said to me, oh, no, it's nothing. It was nothing. We spoke, and, I said sorry for being overbearing yesterday, and we're okay now. Everything is okay. And now I understand not to push boundaries. And, this person as well understands not to call me that, because I'm not that. In that moment, honestly, ladies, I felt like a fulfilled mom. Honestly, because in that moment, I could see that I had gained my daughter's trust. Now she knows that respecting boundaries is important. I talk to her about it all the time. She knows that sometimes she can be overbearing. And me talking about it is not me shutting her down, but me helping her to also have a good relationship with everybody around her. Because as beautiful as her personality is, little things like that can make that beautiful thing become insignificant. And this is something that I'm very, very careful of, because just like I said in my other video when I ended it, I said we have a responsibility as parents to protect our children. This is something we should not joke with. And this is something that every day I'm learning. And based off what I do as an identity specialist, it's important that I start teaching these things from my home, myself as well, because it's really easy to say, do this, do that, do this, do that. But are you practicing what you teach? And this is something I'm learning to do. And this is why I used my daughter's story to share what I'm talking about in terms of us not being in denial about our children's shortcomings. So in my case, with my daughter, it was her being overbearing. In your case, it might be that your child lies. It might be that your child steals. It might be that your child is impatient. Your child gets greedy. It could be anything. All I'm here to share with you today is the importance of not being in denial about these things that we do not like about our children. Instead of closing our eyes and just being so protective and acting like, oh, it doesn't exist, why don't we sit down and see how we can strategize to help this child overcome this? In the outside world, we should protect them, but indoors, we should really ensure that we're dealing with these things and not turning a blind eye to it. So, as parents, especially when we have young children, please, please, please pay attention to those things that are not so great, bad habits, tendencies that we see in our children. Let's pray about it. Let's take action, okay? But whatever you do, do not ignore it. It doesn't mean that your child is bad. No one is perfect. Every single one of us is work in progress, and we just need to try and help. So let me round up to let you know, and just round it up by saying what are the things we're expected to do, and I'll be looking at my notes. So number one, let them trust you and know that you are in their corner. Manage issues effectively. Okay, this helps your children to open up to you easily. So ensure that you're handling it well. Number two, don't enable bad behavior to the detriment of your child's future. Number three, don't be in denial about your child's shortcomings. Help them deal with it. No one is perfect. We all are work in progress. Thank you so much today for watching my video. I really do hope you found it helpful. If you did, please, please like, share, leave a comment. I'd love to read from you, and I'll see you at my next video. Bye-bye.